James, is that a 357 Magnum in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Come on, guys, you know it's both. So get over here, sit on the couch next to Uncle Jay, because today on TFBTV, we're talking about the top 5 pocket rockets. This is a list of the 5 best guns for pocket carry. I'm talking about actual pocket carry, not like you can kind of shove it into a pocket like dirty clothes in your duffel bag after 2 weeks of completely normal and wholesome sightseeing in Thailand or maybe Medellin. Nor are we talking about, yeah, a Glock 19 fits into my old Navy cargo shorts. None of that shit. I mean, like, you can easily pocket one of these pistols without dressing like a man-child RSO or without stretching your pockets tight enough that they squeak when you walk. Let me make some excuses and give some parameters. Pocket carry, generally inadvisable.
Little pocky gun.
Yeah, it is great for a quick jog to get a bottle of king cake vodka at the corner store, but dudes have shut their pee-pees off this way. I even remember hearing a story about a local guy, seriously, popping one off at the DMV a few years ago because he was pocket carrying a Kel-Tec P380. The P380 has one of the worst and heaviest triggers I can think of, so I'd love to know how he pulled that off, but honestly, I guess I'd rather be at the hospital with a goddamn hole in my leg than sitting at the DMV, so I'm gonna go ahead and notch a W for this guy. Pocket carry, super convenient, but it does relegate you to smaller guns like what we're gonna have on this list. For that matter, the parameters are simply going to be this: nothing the same size or larger than a Sig P365. The 365 changed the game when it was introduced in 2018, and I just don't want to open up the door to double stacked subcompact 9mm because now that's going to be a whole new class of pistols, not really that pocketable, and they're just going to jam up this category in this video. So P365 gonna be the cutoff. It's pretty close to pocketable for a double stack 9mm, but it ain't gonna slide into the front pocket of your 511 Defender Flex Skinnies like a handful of pudding. I've only got one 9mm on this list. It's a single stack 9. It's the smallest, lightest one that I can think of. Smaller and lighter than the P365. Obviously, that's the Kahr PM9 or its budget brother, the CM9. I've done a lot of videos on these in the past, although they kind of finally worked their way out of my carry rotation after the Glock 43 came out. Although it's a bit bigger, I consider the Glock 43 to be a better option than Kahr, mainly because I already own a bunch of Glocks. I already trust the reliability of Glocks over Kahrs, but the Kahr has several patented design features that allow it to be smaller and lighter and slimmer. At just 15.9 ounces with an empty mag, the Kahr's amazingly light, and you get 7 rounds of 9mm in it. 124 grain plus P out of the Kahr CM9 will surpass 1,200 feet per second. Around 400 foot-pounds of energy, that's a lot of firepower to cram in your pocket. Historically, reliability can be spotty with the Kahr series of pistols, but once you get past the 200 or 300 round break-in period in the manual and you've got a good one, then you got a good one. Number 4 is the controversy slot, because you can't open up a video about the top 5 carry guns with a possibly discontinued and kind of shitty handgun with questionable reliability, but you can't put it at the number 1 slot either, obviously. 380 is like the David Schwimmer of calibers. Little bit of a pussy, but super successful. Unlike Ross from Friends, though, there's a plausible explanation for why it's so successful. 380 stirs the passions and the loins of TFBTV commenters. Some of you think that 380's resurgence is the second coming of Christ. Others of you think that you're better off throwing rocks. The truth is probably somewhere in between. There have been multiple documented FBI type tests on gel with heavy clothing where 380 rounds will expand to about ½ an inch and penetrate 12 or 13 inches of ballistic gel. That's kind of the bare minimum, but it still passes the FBI standard 12 inches. And yeah, 380 has put plenty of dicks in the dirt over the years, so as long as you're using the right ammo, very important, go for it. Is 380 like the smaller, weaker ADHD having little brother of 9mm? Sure, but the fact remains that you can get a 380 in a much, much, much smaller gun than 9mm, so it dominates the pocket carry division. I'm going with the Kel-Tec P380 for number 4. Yeah, there, I said it. Some of you are pointing at the screen and screaming, why not the LCP? Completely agree with you. I'd even say maybe those are better guns. So if that's the route you want to take, I absolutely 100% agree with you. That's what I'd tell my mom to get. I myself am still partial to George Kellgren's Nasty Plasty Blasty. It's the smallest and lightest .380 ever made, even if it is composed of ocean plastic and smelted Bryco-Jennings pistols. I own a whopping 4 of these guns, which is a long story that I've told several times before. They've got bad sights. They can get rusty if you just get the regular blued version. Parkerized version's just fine. Trigger's awful. Many of you in the comments have said that you had one and it was reliable. You've had one and it was unreliable. I get it. But through my 4 guns, I've not had one single malfunction, and I'm actually a decent shot in the accuracy department with the P380, so I like them. Again, smallest, lightest, cheapest. Sounds like the trifecta of victory. This gun cost under 200 bucks, and at just 7.9 ounces, it's almost 20% lighter than an LCP, and most of you, yeah, would probably be better off with a Ruger LCP, but this is my video, and I'm using my controversy slot on Uncle George. Number 3, we're talking about the Glock 42. The Glock 42, substantially smaller than the Glock 43 and lighter, a quarter pound lighter to be exact. While the Glock 43 is just a little bit over 1 pound empty, the Glock 42 is a mere 12 ounces and just 0.89 inches thick. It's larger than the LCP, it's larger than the Kahr P380, it's larger than the Kel-Tec P380. Here's a comparison for you. The Glock 42 versus the Glock 43. We got the Glock 42 on the left, the Glock 43 on the right, and now I'll swap out the Glock 43 to compare the Glock 42 with the Kel-Tec. Size-wise, Glocks are just going to be less efficient than the other 380s on this list, even though they have the same capacity and the same caliber. On the other hand, you're getting a more stable platform and probably the best trigger out of the bunch. Size-wise, Glocks are just less efficient than other 380s, even though they've got the same capacity and the same caliber. On the other hand, you're getting a more stable shooting platform, you're getting the best trigger out of the bunch for sure, and in my experience, the Glock 42 is insanely accurate for its size, especially when you compare it to other members of the class. Double action, hammer-fired, tiny little pocket guns. It handles like a full-size gun with all the pluses of a full-size gun. Better sights, better trigger, better controls, lots of accessories and holsters available. You guys know I'm a Glock fanboy. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me. But if you don't think that it's reasonable for me to argue that a Glock 42 is a better choice than a Ruger LCP or a Kel-Tec P380 to carry, be careful not to put your pistol in the same pocket you keep your brain in, buddy. Glock 42, more reliable, easier to shoot, less size efficient, you make the call. But if you own a bunch of Glocks already, this seems like it makes the most sense for you. Number 2 is a bit of a wild one, but it's become over the years one of my absolute most favorite carry guns, the Smith & Wesson Airweight 340 PD. When you look at them two-dimensionally, size-wise, the 340 PD approaches the Sig P365 in size, but looks can be deceiving. First, you have to keep in mind that the actual frame of this gun is only 0.5 inches thin. Additionally, when fully loaded, this gun's 10 ounces lighter, over 10 ounces lighter than a loaded P365. That's a huge factor in pocket carry along with size, especially if you're wearing shorts or joggers without a belt. By the time you make it up at the corner store for your 6-pack, your waistband's going to be around your ass and the bodega won't buzz you in. The 340 PD made out of extremely light space-age alloys, including titanium and scandium, which keeps weight very low. And I haven't even talked to you about power yet. You get 5 rounds of 38, which are going to be in the same playing field roughly as 9mm, or if you're comfy with a wheel gun, despite the 340's ultra lightweight, its construction is robust enough to handle .357 Magnum.
Smith & Wesson 340 PD, doing a little Russian roulette. We've got 4 38 special rounds in here and 1 .357 Magnum. It's going to be not pleasant. Okay. Woo! I think I broke my hand. Woo!
Now you're talking about the most powerful gun on this list. Over 500 foot-pounds of energy, 14 plus inches of penetration in an FBI gel test, rounds mushrooming to double its size with expansion. It's a brutal round, and this is the lightest .357 Magnum ever made. You might say that you can't hit anything with this revolver if you jammed it up with .357, but we tested that, and experienced shooters can make hits on a torso-sized target at well beyond second-degree murder distances. We ran a test on TFBTV a few years back. 3 shooters could dump entire cylinders of .357 Magnum into a B-27 torso target at 25 yards with surprisingly good accuracy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. .357 is super freaking unpleasant to shoot, but interesting. Something to think about.
Relatedly, the sights are basic but good. Rear gutter sights with a high vis front sight. You get great contrast. It's very usable, very intuitive, but it doesn't snag on anything. Related to that, the 340 PD is a hammerless model. No exposed hammer back here to snag on your clothes. There's kind of a learning curve. When you're a beginner, you believe everything needs to be snag-free so it doesn't get snagged on your chinchilla pullover and you die. But you get a little bit more experience, you get a little bit more confidence, and you're like, you know, that doesn't even really happen that often with hammered revolvers. And then you shoot a little bit more with revolvers with hammers, and it happens to you once on the range, and you're like, oh shit, I am so glad that didn't happen to me on the street when some crackhead was threatening me with a rusty railroad spike and a full piss jug. One other fun little bonus about having a small revolver, you can absolutely smoke a dude without ever taking your hands out of your jacket. I put up a fist-sized group at something like 2 yards from inside of a coat. Now you're gonna have to buy yourself a new members only if you do that, but something tells me you're probably not going to care. It's a neat little David Copperfield sleight of hand trick when someone's got a knife in your face, they think you're about to pull your wallet out of your blazer, and suddenly their chest explodes with the 5 rounds of buffalo bore that you had saved up from a camping trip in grizzly country last year. Number 1, and I think I have to say it's not even close, Ruger LCP Max. They done changed the game on us. The Ruger LCP Max is 2-dimensionally the same size as the LCP, pretty damn close to it, and it's only slightly thicker, but just in the grip, and we're talking like only about 0.2 of an inch. Frankly, the LCP Max has put other single-stack 380s flat out of business. The dimensions are so close, it's only 1.5 ounces heavier than the Kel-Tec, but you get 11 rounds of 380 in this double-stack magazine, 10 plus 1, of course. You get a better than average trigger, not stellar, but better than average, an excellent blacked out rear and a tritium glowing front night sight, all of the controls perfectly functional while being tucked out of the way. Slide serrations are workable but discreet. It's a good looking gun, even though it's relatively devoid of any sharp edges other than this flat face near the rear sight that you can use to rack against a belt or a hard object if you can't use your support hand for whatever reason. Yeah, it's in 380, but when you look at the economics of the P365 versus the LCP Max, you're getting, depending on who you ask and what ammo you're comparing, 25 to 40% less energy in a gun that weighs 40% less, a whole 10 ounces. Plus, this easily slips into a pocket, and as I said at the beginning of the video, with the P365, you should probably be using a holster in your waistband.
All right, so that's rapid fire, just trying to put them in like this little 3-inch circle. Again, this is me probably flinching, but you can see it's, if I just moved it up a little bit, you're gonna get almost every shot into like this little 3-inch circle here. I guess this goes to show you that even with a 10-ounce gun, like a gun that light, the recoil is not bad.
It's for that reason that the LCP Max is right now the king of the pocket 380s, and I don't know why more companies haven't just come after it or straight up ripped it off. Kel-Tec could certainly do the same thing, so could Glock or Kahr. They just don't for whatever reason. Oh well, works out just fine for Ruger. Not only do they have a monopoly on the top dog 380 pocket rocket, but they did a damn fine job with it as well. I hope they're selling the shit out of these, because if everyone in the neighborhood slid one of these into their tracksuits, your block would see a lot fewer porch pirates. So that's what I got. If you wanted to know some runners up, Ruger LCRX is great. Really, any of the airweight Smith & Wesson revolvers. Maybe the Beretta Tomcat in .32 is kind of like a controversy pick. And I guess if you wanted to get really weird, Either a Bond Arms like the Bullpup or maybe a Derringer. I like the list how it is. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what's your favorite pocket rocket. Guys, thanks as usual for watching. Thank you to Top Gun Supply. They give away 6 $250 gift certificates every month to supporters at the $5 level or higher. It's a random draw from Utreon and Subscribestar. Make sure to support us because we don't accept money in exchange for positive reviews. Thank you as usual to Ventura Munitions. They supply all the ammo we use. We love those guys, and we love you for watching. Take care.